Hello everybody, this is Carol from Friendly Quail and it's time for Try Something New Tuesday. This week, I hope you'll join me for making these pockets. I saw these on SevenPlaza and it's Margreth, and it was one of her top favorite things that she had made, I think. I will link her video below, the one that I watched, and I did try a couple to figure out the best way for me to do it, and I did things a little bit different than she did, differently. So let's get started. Okay, I have two pieces of paper. These are 6x6s. That's what these little ones are made from. That's a 6x6. So, and these are the same. I have one that I'm working on that is a different paper. See in the middle, because this is the same piece of paper and this is the same piece of paper, is different than the bottom. So you don't have to use the same papers, but for these I was doing that. And this one I cut, and I actually cut a 9x9 square out of regular scrapbook paper. And then I scored it the wrong way because this is directional. All the writing was in one direction, so then I turned it. I had to cut a 1/2 inch off. And so it became an 8.5 by 8.5, which made it 4 inches wide. So it's not a bad size to start with, because it ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 3/4 by 4. So that's a good size actually. But I got this out to make one of these littler ones. Now these are actually, they actually have 8 pockets if you glue them around the 3 sides on the back. It has a pocket here and then one right behind the tab. So there's the pockets like this. So you get one in front, one behind. I don't know that I'd put, well, unless there are small things, maybe I'd put 8 things in, but you know, it can get a little packed. So how you do this in this part, whoop, I'm going to turn that around, is the same as the way that Margreth got started. I'm going to put a score mark at 3/8 inch. On both pieces of paper. All right. Now this, try not to make too much noise, gets folded. And then I'm going to fold this in half even with that edge. So on the big one I did a 1/2 inch, but 3/8 is fine. I need to get that a little bit straighter. Okay, so now it looks like this. Now I do have it sticking out just a little bit too far, so I'll probably end up cutting that off. Trying to get it even. Yeah, so I got a little bit sticking out on that side too, because I want them to be the same width. Okay, now you can cut that with a scissors or I might just cut a little tiny bit off. So that it now does not stick out. Yeah, that worked. Do the same thing here. Now if I had folded it the right way, I wouldn't have had to do this, but I got the first one off, so there we go. Now in Margreth's video, she glued this together right away. I'm not. I think it's easier to work with if I haven't gotten it glued together yet. So I'm going to not glue it until near the end. Okay? And I think I will put these in opposite directions so that the thickness is not all on one side. Now for these, I folded it up about 1.25 inches on one of them. And you can see a little white there. And it doesn't have to be a perfect, but see that little bit of white there? That's because of the fact that I folded it. And I can cut a little bit of that off. Just a little bit. So you don't see the white. Now you could also just what's the word I want? Distress it. Okay, now the opposite one, I'm going to fold so that this top part is about the same as the bottom part. So I'm not measuring. But I'm folding it. And if it's not exact, it doesn't matter, because if you would measure these four, they are not all the same, but you don't notice it when you're finished. So why worry about it, right? So now if I put this in here, now this one I could have put up a little further because this is too small. And that'll be behind, so I don't care if I have another thing. I just kind of put it together until I get it how I like it. Now that's a little bit more even. Okay. And again, I'm just going to take a little bit of this side off. And maybe I'll start here. Just so that doesn't stick out. Fool around with it. Okay. So now these are, the bottom one's just a little bit bigger, but it's good. It's all good. It looks fine. So that is my fold that I'm going to use. Okay, it just seems like it's a little crooked. Maybe it's this bottom one. Yeah. So, not measuring, but get it so it's visually appealing. Okay. Now, this spot, we're going to start making these pockets like this. So I'm going to open it up, but I'm going to mark which ones are the front ones because they're different. They're on different sides. So I'm just going to take a little mark pencil here, and I'm going to put a little mark right here. That one's there. This one's here. This one's here. And this one is here. So when I open it up, you see how this is here and the other X is right here. And that's on both of them. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little cut in there. I'm using my circle punch. I am putting it in and looking to visually put it in the center and popping that off. So the X is not exactly in the center. I'm looking at lining it up with the edges and about how deep I want it and popping it off. So now I've got that. I'll do the same with this side. Kind of open that up because it's a little easier for me to visually get it in the center if I don't have that folded in. All right, and this one. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, but I try to get it as visually close to the center as I can so that when I put them together, they all line up and they're all about the same size. Okay? Now it's time to do a couple of other things. Here's where you can start distressing. Now, I don't want this white behind here. So I'm going to distress that. And since I'm going to be putting holes in here, I also want it not to show through to here. So I'm like, here is the upper part. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to distress that on the inside. Better grab a piece of paper. Put that on. This is scorched timber, and I'm going to put just some inside here so that when you see this, it's not showing, and also if you peek down a little bit in the pocket, you would not see it. Oops, I did it on the wrong side. Well, it won't hurt. Okay, and then I'm going to distress. I'm using scorched timber because with the darker papers, it did not show up when I used like even the walnut stain. And this one was darker, so I'll do that. And I'm going to go down, let's see here. This is the one that goes like this. I'm going to go down the sides where that will show, being the front. And I have to do this top part. Same thing here. See, by opening it, being able to open it up, I can do this a lot easier than if it was glued shut. Should be dark enough for that. This one will show, so that's the bottom. This will show. This will show on this side. Okay, and here's where I have to do this. Okay. So now it's all distressed. Now I got some of these darker than these, so I'll go back and make that a little darker. Just because it's visually more appealing if it's about the same. Now actually most of that will be covered, but when you open it up you'll see the inside here, because this is where the tabs go, on the back part of that. So got that all done. All right, now the next step is I'm going to be putting on either the eyelets or these are brads. Now on this one I'm going to put brads on. So I'm going to poke a hole rather than use my crocodile. And I'm just going to use this. To poke the holes into. Now I'm going to mark where I want the holes. And on this dark, I use like a white marker. Now you can measure this. I can go down about this far and in about 1/4 of an inch and make a mark. So I can kind of, I'm using this white so that I can see it if I was doing it with my crocodile. I use the white. And I did go in about 1/4 of an inch. Now this is another thing that I'm doing a little differently from Margreth. When she did hers, she poked through the two sides, which made the pocket smaller. And I decided that I wanted to have the pocket the full width. So I don't want to poke through two parts together. So I'm making a mark where I'm going to poke through. And then I'm going to open mine up and use my awl to poke a hole here. I got a magazine underneath it, and I need it up a little bit so that I poke a hole into the magazine and not have to worry about my mat. All right. I open up the little side part here. Now again, if I was using an eyelet, I'll show you that, I would poke a hole where the eyelet is going to be. See, now you have to have this on the inside when you're going to glue it shut, because if I had it on the outside, when I folded it up, you would see that flap. Now, unless you want that as a design element, you want that folded to the inside so you can't see it. Okay? All right. And again, if I was doing eyelets, I would be poking the hole with the eyelet hole maker on my crocodile. I ripped that one a little bit. I picked it up too soon. That's this one. I'm just going to put a little piece of tape on there. Won't be able to see it. It'll reinforce it. And the first one I tried to make, I tried to do it with cardstock, and it was way too thick. It was just horrible. So here we are. Now I'm ready to put those in. Now here's one that I'm putting eyelets in. And so for this one, instead of poking the hole, I used my crocodile to punch that. And then I'm going to put in the eyelet. I can get it in there. And I'm going to close the eyelet up. Oops, I have it on the big one. I have to turn it. Okay. This one here got a little mushed. Didn't really close right. So I'll have to get a new one out. There, that worked. Okay, so I'll have to get a new one out for that side. I noticed that some of these are short and some of these are long, and I had a different one. Put that in there. Okay. Yeah. Better. So this one now has eyelets, and it's dark behind here because this is dark, but if it was white or light, I would do it right on that piece. I would distress that. Like I think I did that with this one. You could see the paper through it, so I just distressed it a little bit to make that hole darker. Okay. So the next step, this one has to get these on. Now, if you're putting these in through just the one side, and you're worried about that catching when you're putting things in, you can put something over there. Or you can put it through like Margreth did all the way to the back and just make your hole smaller. So it depends what you want to do. You can also cut these smaller. You don't need to have the whole long width of it. And you get those in here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this one and finish it up so you don't have to watch me put those in. So your next step is you're going to make these little tabs. These tabs right here. Now on this 6x6 paper, I cut this 1.25 inches by 2. And the 1.25 inches is so that it fills up and goes maybe just a little bit to the side of that hole that I punched. So that's how I decided to do 1.25 inches. See, that fills that space up. But you can make it bigger. This one, I have it going off the edge here. I made these 2 inches. I could have done probably about 1 5/8 inches or something, and that would have worked for that. So you need to fold these in half. I'm going to score them. So it's 1.25 inches by 2, but I got the 1.25 inches by measuring that. So I'm making this tab by putting 1 inch, a score at 1 inch, and folding it in half. I actually have some made that I'll use, but I'm going to show you how to do the numbers and everything on it. Okay, now I'm going to use my crocodile and use the small end and put the folded edge. See, this is the fold in and round the corners. Didn't quite get that underneath in there. There we go. It's going on top of it. Turn it over. There we go. That worked. I'm using this crocodile because my other one, this is a little thick for it to handle. Okay. There we go. I think there was some paper in the way. So these are going to be my tabs. So I'm going to be taking my VersaFine Clear, and I'm going to put a number on each one of these. Now I'm going to open it up and so I can get it flat. Also, that way, if you mess it up, you can still put it on the other side where it'll be glued together. All right, let's get another one. See, this one I kind of messed up. Fold it the opposite way. That'll be on the inside. I think I tried to push too hard. Don't need to do that with this VersaFine Claire. And I just kind of pulled out the same numbers that I'm using on each one. You can change them. Oh, this isn't right yet. Where did I put it? Right in front of my face. There. Mess that one up too. I moved it. There. Much better. That's why I didn't bother to distress right away, because I needed to make sure that I had the right one. I had it in the right place. And this will be glued on the inside, so it won't matter. Okay. Get that distressed. See the ink I'm getting all over my hands. Oh, because I'm using my VersaFine Claire instead of my my scorched timber. Okay, no problem. We can handle it. It's just I have glue on my hands. My glue's getting empty, speaking of glue. I put some glue on the back of these. I'll lay that down. And then what you're going to do is put this inside of here. Until you get it right where you want it. And I have it sticking up almost to the little edge of that where I clipped it off. I'm going to make sure that no glue is coming out here and going onto here to glue it shut. Okay. Now I like the one to put the ones with no, the number thing on two different places. This will be in the middle. Okay. Because I have two of them that say no on them for number, Okay. Make sure you're getting it lined up correctly. All right. Now let that dry for a minute while I put these on. So I want the no on the top, the number. Gotta clean up my glue bottle and refill it. There we go. And the last one. The first one I made just like Margreth did, and this is much easier to do when you don't have it all glued together, believe me. Believe me. Okay, now all we have left to do is glue it together. So I'm going to take glue and put it along this strip right here. And glue that together, those together. Okay. This is how I'm going to be putting it together. So I'm going to first glue right here on the back of this one. Get that lined up. So now I got this glued here and here. Don't have it lined up very well though. Don't want it sticking out the bottom. Better. Okay, now I'm going to glue here and here. Nice thin piece, line of glue. And then I'm going to glue the final pocket. And at this point, I'm going to put some clamps on to hold it just for a couple minutes while it dries. I'm more worried about the pockets because they're thicker than I am about the top part. And then voila, wait till it dries and you have your bucket. I'll let that dry for a minute, but this is how we're turning out. And again, if you do it with bigger, I used bigger eyelets. I used a bigger piece for the tab, and that's the only accommodation I made other than the size of the paper you started with. Has to be squares, has to be 2 of them. So that's it. Try something new Tuesday, and I hope you'll try it. And like I said, I've got Margreth at SevenPlaza linked below. It was her idea. All right, we'll see you next video. Bye.